All right, how do I look? Do I look tired? Okay, bit of a different episode this week. So, some stuff's come up. Couple things. First thing, both my kids got sick, and one kid, my 2-year-old, decided to stop sleeping 4 days in a row. This little dude's been waking up at midnight every single night. I have not been able to function. I am exhausted. I'm pretty sure I might be sick now too. We'll see. Second thing is, I had some gear problems here. I was trying to get a gear set up for a demo that I was gonna drop this Friday, but unfortunately, I couldn't get it together. I made a trip to my local welding supply store or whatever, Barry Hamill. Thank you guys there very much. They got me sorted. I'm back on track. It was a gas issue, not a machine issue or anything like that, but because I'm so tired and I'm pretty sure I'm sick and I had some gear problems, this week's episode is gonna have to wait for next week, but I promise you, this one's gonna be awesome. One of my favorite ones I've done in a while. That's why I didn't want to rush it and drop this Friday with it being half-baked. I want things to be perfect for this one. But another thing that happened as I stepped back this week, kind of just accepted defeat, was I had a little bit of time to think. And here's what I started thinking. There's the wall nobody gets to see. Some art pieces up there. The way I do things for my channel, things move super fast. Yesterday, if you had asked me what my last episode was that I did on my channel, I would not have even remembered. I have over like 110 or something episodes like that now, and I'm super proud of all of them, but it's 1 week to the next. I drop an episode, I wipe my computer, and I start working on the next one. Usually when I do my premiere on Friday mornings where I'm hanging out in the chat with everybody, I'm already working on the next episode. I get zero time to enjoy it and reflect on the episode that I just did. So a little bit of time to chill today because I didn't do anything today. I had some time to actually have a peek back through the last few episodes. And one thing I wanted to do was kind of go over some of my favorite episodes that I've done over the last little bit here and give a quick rundown on why I liked them. And perhaps if you missed them, maybe recommend pop back and check those ones out. So let me grab my phone here. So there's been some big ones. Big in the sense that I was probably the most proud of some of the content I put out. And also big in the sense that if I was a beginner trying to get started with TIG welding, I would have killed for these when I first started welding. These are some episodes that I genuinely put a lot of effort into and put gems in these episodes as far as content to help people out. So in case you missed them, let's check out some of these episodes here. So this one was one of my most recent ones. This one I demonstrated how to do basically a fillet weld around a square tube. This was a viewer request. Somebody had specifically asked that I do this episode for them. I loved doing this one. This one was actually a lot of fun. There were some tips that I could share in this one. The biggest one that we broke down in this one was how to set up to properly weld straight lines, then carry your straight line in a uniform pattern around a corner, reset, and then continue in another straight line. This episode was titled, "The Mistake People Make When Welding Around Squares." Pretty simple, because it illustrates one of the biggest things that people normally miss when they're doing this, and that's welding around the corners. So if you did not check this one out, this one goes over some really in detail stuff about small details you can do with your setup as far as positioning, posture, to help you get around shapes like this and maintain a consistent and proper weld profile with fillet welds. All of these episodes I'm about to mention here are in the description below. I'll put them all in order, so this one will be up at the top. Now, carrying on with our theme about fillet welds, I dropped a 2-part episode. Both of these episodes had a ton of content in them. The first one right here was part 1 of 2 episodes all about fillet welds. Each episode is about 10 minutes long, not that much of an investment, but there is a lot of information in these. The first episode was probably the more important one of the two, simply because it detailed a lot more about problems that people normally have with this joint and problems that happen when setting up for it. I can't really recall, but I don't even think we did any welding in this episode. We go all about setup and posture and basically how to go about welding this one for the first time if you're just getting going. In part 2, we ran demos. I took all of the information that we went over in the first episode, and in the second episode, we put it all to work. We laid down some nice demos. This is a super common joint. A lot of people try to learn this one, and it trips a lot of people up because it's notoriously very difficult. So if you're a beginner, or if you know anyone who's a beginner, send them these episodes here. These 2 episodes are big ones for getting started, especially with this joint. All right, this episode here, this one popped off pretty good. A lot of people enjoyed this one, and this one was a lot of fun for myself as well. It does detail something that I wish I knew when somebody was first teaching me how to TIG weld stainless steel. In this one here, we go over the heat affected zone, why it happens, what it means. Probably the biggest thing to learn, and learn how to analyze properly when learning how to weld stainless steel, mild steel, all kinds of stuff. But there's a lot in that episode. This episode, again, we went over a couple brief demos, and we describe why things happen with the heat affected zone and how to learn from it to get the best results possible. It's definitely an episode I'm probably most proud of because it genuinely, like I said, is something that I wish I knew when I first started learning how to TIG weld, especially stainless steel. Stainless steel is so frustrating. It is so frustrating, oh my gosh. I'm teaching some people how to weld stainless steel right now, and I'm going through it all again. I forget how difficult this stuff is to start with. So if you are just getting going with stainless steel, hit that link in the description below. This one's gonna help you out with one of the most important details, and probably the one detail that very few people teach when they're teaching this one. So go check that episode out if you missed it. This next one here is kind of a continuation of the one where we did a fillet weld around a square tube, but this one's around a round shape. Now, another viewer request for this one, I popped this one off for a viewer that asked for it, but this one had a lot of intricacies in it as well that I kind of forgot about until I had to do a demo on it. This one's a lot more difficult than you think. There's a lot of details that are definitely important to pay attention to. And if you enjoyed that episode where we welded around the square tube or square pipe, whatever you want to call it, this one's got gems in it for you as well. Pop back on this one. We'll go over some settings. We'll go over a demo. We'll talk a lot about angles, about going around something that's tricky like a pipe, because the difference between a square tube and a pipe does not have any straight surfaces to weld around. This one's all done by feel and eyeball. In this episode, I put a lot of detail into describing those small things to watch for. Now, this one, I talk about this episode all the time. Man, this one might be the most important one I've ever done. This one is where I introduce my saying, fill and chill. Fill and chill is something I live by, teaching this to all of my students ever since I came up with this saying, and I did this episode on it here. This details the most important part of any weld, and that is, it's the start. The start of every weld is the most important part, period. This is an episode where I go over all of this in detail. I'm gonna break down why this is important and how this will set you up for not only joints when you're just learning how to practice for the first time, but how to apply this to more difficult joints and stuff even further down the line when you start getting pretty good at TIG welding. I get hit up quite a bit online from people asking for tips on stuff, and honestly, I send this episode to almost everyone. This episode is super important. So be sure, check this one out if you haven't seen it already. And again, if you know somebody who's just starting out with TIG welding, pop this one off to them, they'll appreciate it. Now this last one was kind of a tough one, honestly. Man, is an art piece. It was one of the most, actually it was the last art piece I did before I've taken a little break from art stuff. Currently working on an art project right now, but it's taken me forever to do just because of everything I got going on here. But this episode here, it was tough to send this one away. I started this one with a ton of ambition. I was super proud of the design that I came up with doing it. And like a week after I started it, my dog died. Both my dogs, you've seen them in my videos a bunch. They always chill in here. They used to chill right there. I had the dog bed there. And yeah, man, it was like the last episode I did with my dog, and then he died like a week into doing that piece. So that one was tough. I've watched it a few times since. It's definitely like the most proud I am of any art piece, but like, damn, dude, it's a tough one to swallow. And then my other dog died just after that. I lost both my dogs within a span of like 7 or 8 months or something. So it is what it is. But yeah, this one for sure is one that I kind of slept on. The piece got sent away to a really good person in California. So I went to a great home, which is awesome. I'm pretty thankful of that. But this one holds a lot of special kind of memories for me. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a pretty cool art piece, and yeah, it just means a lot to me. But I just wanted to shout that one out here in case you hadn't seen it. So again, I apologize. This week sucked. I hope I don't get sick. I still got to finish this other episode I'm working on. So far I'm feeling all right. I am freaking exhausted. I am so tired. I just put my little dude down for sleep now. I got the baby monitor over there. I don't hear anything so far, so fingers crossed. I'm gonna shut this down. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, hopefully with a good night of sleep, and I'm gonna get back to work. Next week's episode is gonna be dope. It's the first time I've ever done something like this on my channel. New type of weld demo. I'm basically gonna be learning something for the first time in front of my YouTube audience. So be sure to stay tuned for that one. If you're subscribed, hit that stupid bell thing that everybody talks about. That way when that episode pops up next Friday, you'll see it right away. But anyway, to all the true ARC heads out there who watch the show every week, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Leave a dime in the comments below. Go out today, do a random act of kindness for a stranger. For Pacific Arc TIG Welding, my name is Dusty. Fill and chill. We'll talk soon. Peace. Gosh, done. Going to bed.